This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in. Yes, really worth it being here in the room. A room so utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these chairs and some paintings. Really worth it.
Right, seen that one before.
At this point, Stanley's obsession with this room bordered on creepy and reflected poorly on his overall personality. It's possible that this is why everyone left. Stanley sat around waiting for more dialogue, but when a long time had passed and there was no more, he decided that the game was trying to send him a message. But at last, he'd had enough of the amazing room and took the first open door on his left to get back to business. And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
Shut me in. Oh, there's no choice. There's just no choice. But now, oh, go in here. Space. I'll go down. I'll go down. Okay, no. Square. You don't go down levels or up levels until you've finished exploring the current level. Don't like that. Don't. That's still no melee.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Sir, excuse me. I can't jump. You need that's the table. People just jump and shoot. Just let me off. supposed to? Inspiring, yeah. Presentations. Sometimes you need repeat the same thing. Smart. Okay, let's go. No. Right. Oh, okay, I didn't like that.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
What's downstairs? What's downstairs? Right, I'm going. Let's go. I have to. Why would you go up the stairs? Okay, let's go. It's gonna close. It's gonna close. It's close. Something. Shit. Fuck.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy.
Yep.
And then something occurred to Stanley.
Yep.
Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went?
Yep.
And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment and my wife and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
Roll credits. Oh.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
Oh, shit. Excuse me, sorry.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy, this much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Did I die? I died. I think I died. Ooh, okay. Okay.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Let's carry on.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Okay, this is where I've seen it. Yeah. What? Hello.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Okay. Scary. Sit there. Ooh, scary. Red. Alright, just. What I don't like. I don't like that. Okay. Anyone? Oh, it's when they came to the rapture. It's just it's the eeriness of it here. Like just yeah. There's too many RPGs when you sit there and there's just someone to talk to and you're just like, yeah, you talk to them and everything's normal and you just like crack on and you go like I don't know, like 30 people. Pick up a talisman and bring it back and it's all good. But just know there's someone there, just makes it a little bit real. Okay, open door. Okay, we have on the other door the other way. And close the door. Okay, we know where we're going. Okay, there's no fix that. Look at the light in the floor. Oh, nice.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
But that's who's been shutting the doors?
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845. 2845.
This is British. It's got to be British culture. Yes, God, yeah, look at that stonework on that wall. Now, if that's not Welsh, Cornish, Scottish.
But it turns out that the panel's emergency override kicked in, and the door just opened all by itself. And Stanley got the hell along with the story. Well, whoop-de-doo.
Just looking at the pictures. Like you could calm your tits. Drop the blinds, just looking at beautiful stonework. I mean, you do not make walls like that anymore. And like two pictures the same. You could have just you can't be sitting here enjoying two pictures of this. Everything else awesome. That's right here then. That's awesome. Not creepy. No, I won't close. No, over. Okay. Not done yet. The rapture, that's all it is. Just weird. Yeah. No fence. Something. Freaking pipe bomb. let's go down to the top. Am I dead? Please tell me I'm dead.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Obviously the lift is disabled, so you can't go up. Oh.
Whoops, nope, never mind.
Oh.
Stanley actually got back into the elevator and went back up. Silly me.
Yes.
Why did Stanley do that when he knew that it would just lead back to his boss's office? Well, that's a great question. I just can't wait to find out.
We just go, Stanley. Stanley, we just go. We actually left. Yeah, that's what it is.
Here we are, Stanley. It's your boss's office. Exactly the way it was before you got onto the elevator. It's still just exactly what it is. What a decision you've made to come up here and look at the office again. This has fleshed out the plot of the story in new and fascinating ways I could have never anticipated. It's that keen eye for storytelling that you have, an incisive rapid fire of critical plot points, one after the other, weaving a rich tapestry of uncompromising narrative. Wow! I'm bolted to the edge of my seat. Incredible. Now he's getting back into the elevator and going down again. Ladies and gentlemen, how does he keep coming up with all of this?
Oh. Game on.
Surely this time Stanley will walk forward into the spooky corridor, won't he?
This isn't the same corridor.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
No. And Stanley don't want to walk through the mind control facility, man. God, fuck. It's not. Where did you go? It's not. Oh, obviously, if I go that way, you can end the game that you did last time. But then I really want to go that way. I have to see what happened. Oh, let's go. Let's escape. Let's run away.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
Sure. I just see. What? Not standing in violent death. There's no one here. It's gonna be a gas chamber. Dead. Right.
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
Never. Stanley faces threats ahead.
At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his
Oh.
death.
Oh. It's infinite. Fudge. But is that what is just gonna happen? I'm gonna die and then what, I'll be at the bottom of the lift again. It's still scary. There's no one here. And oh yes, I get to crouch. Awesome. Old things I want to do is crouch. Can you give me a run button? A run button. Run up. A fucking Glock. Oh.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss,
No.
like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
I will do better. I'll do better, Stanley.
"Farewell, Stanley," cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
What? 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 It is. It is 1 o'clock in the morning. Wasn't meant to be playing a game like this long. Just Stanley, Stanley. We may have to see this through. 1 o'clock in the morning. Right. This is terrible. This is done real.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish?
Oh no, no. Oh yeah. Oh. You can't give me a run. You can't give me a run. That's not my office. That's not my office. I'm meant to start back in my office. I don't. No. No, no, no. No, no, no. Right.
When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
What? Stanley's legend. He's fine. Still, what is the purpose of crouching? have seen all these on my way up. That's new. That's pretty. I like that. I see that around my house. That's new. That's Plymouth. Yeah, southeast. Yeah, about 8 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah, it's Plymouth. I know that one. Yeah, that's easy. Oh, yeah, Dulwich. Just on the Warren side. 11:13. 21st of July, longest day of the year. Yeah, that's. I'm surprised you don't know that one. Anyway, 6 paint. 7 paintings. Dippy. Stanley's comp. And ooh, it's pretty. This the offices. Oh, this is adorable. Look at this. The 2 doors. 2 doors. This is adorable. Look at that. Corridor. Base of the open player reaches the 2 doors. Good time. Thank you for that. Okay. 2 doors are set. 2 open doors. What's the very first concept piece of Stanley's blueprint shows from the beginning of the game the path from Stanley's office to the 2 doors was the first part built. Sections have been added and altered throughout development. Oh, the core layout is almost identical to the first iteration. And there's my office. It's beautiful. Of the iteration. Pretty. Okay. Where we going? And then we were like, right, we died like twice. Was that through there? Died through there? No, we died, but then we just carried on. Oh, bless. Did we die? We already died, but like, it's all not see. No, we're not dead yet, are we? Let's keep going. Boss's office. Oh, we went in the middle one. Where is that? Yeah, like the one on the right side. That's a fireplace. Red. No, red. Oh, God. Where are we going? That doesn't look the same. Early version of underground portion of the game. But that's not the same. It was a corridor, wasn't it? Yeah, it was a corridor. Okay.
Now then, this elevator for sure would get him right back on track to where he was supposed to be in the story.
Shoot. I can't hear because my TV was turned down.
Stanley stood on the roof. Then he pushed the number 8.
Oh, what did?
Still nothing.
Dude.
At don't know.
No, I didn't.
Well, in that case, I'll tell you what. You win. Congratulations. You did it. I know you put in a lot of hard work, and it really paid off, so good job.
It's just not right, is it?
What do we do now? I don't... Stanley, where are you right now? Where am I? I'm trying to figure out, but I can't...
Stanley
Stanley,
came to the lift,
who am
he
I?
travelled
Can you
upwards
speak to me?
to
Please
power
talk.
source at the
Have we
top
done this
of the
before? Have we
facility
been in this
to
room
end
before?
this injustice.
How many times have we done this? How many times have I said these exact words? Say something. Anything. Help me, Stanley. I don't know who what I... Now look closer, Stanley. See how it's impossible for the player to do anything in this room. Perfect example of poor level design. Textbook mistake. It's the kind of thing you'd pick up on intuitively if you had even the most fundamental understanding of good and bad game design. But of course, you being you, you'll probably spend the next hour trying to solve it. Here, I'm just going to make this easy on you.
When Stanley came to the lift, he travelled upward to the power source, then he
That's
pushed
the
the...
narrator. Pause, I believe. It's amazing.
Now look.
Reminds me of Portal. What? This could be very interesting. I remember what Portal was like in Portal 2. And this is like become my new favourite game if this is similar, and this seems like very, very similar. The only thing I can think of is going to these doors or going down there. Sound. A selection of the sounds used throughout the game when buttons are pressed. Each sound is a mix of a keyboard stroke and a synthesized tone. Oh. There's the sixth tone there, Molly. Okay, no, that's fine. No problem. Button sounds pretty. Okay. What's that? I suppose I never went down, did I? No, I said I would not go down until you don't go down until you cleared the floor. Clever. What is this then? Please. Also, give me a gun. I will take on the war zone. No problem. War zone will be handled. I will be straight behind this. No problem. Right. Obviously, the hidden development we designed an ending where Stanley would end up on a battlefield fighting. It is perfect. She game would become sentient and would wage war against the narrator. We realized shortly after starting to build it that it was far too jokey and on the nose for the tone of the game. Plus, some people interpreted it as making fun of people who like shooters, which was not our intention. This isn't a normal game, but I like it. Alien base awesome. My type of base.